This is a quick and short video to discuss the differences between Docker and Kubernetes at a very high level. So this is often a question that comes up when you're first getting started with Docker and Kubernetes and you're just wondering, what's this? So Docker and Kubernetes are pretty much different tools. One's at a lower level, I would say, one's a higher level. Docker is a lower level. And what I mean by lower level by that, I just mean it's more focused on just running containers. So the point of Docker is to allow you to deploy your application and your OS in a standard unit deployment, a standard package essentially. And that's really nice and it excels at what it's doing. It's really great for that. Kubernetes kind of adds higher level features on top of that. And essentially, it's considered an orchestration tool. So orchestration means multiple things, right? So basically, Kubernetes helps you deploy multiple and manage multiple containers. So some of these features of Kubernetes deployment, it allows you to run containers across multiple compute nodes. So instead of running the Docker run command on each individual instance, you could actually just have Kubernetes do it with the deployment. And the deployment kind of automatically help you manage that. Load balancing is another feature of Kubernetes. It helps you expose the endpoint to the internet. You can expose the endpoint only privately too, but essentially it allows you to create a basically an endpoint that you could reach that routes to your pods or your Docker containers from a single endpoint. And it's called service object in Kubernetes. It's also called ingress depending on the type of load balancer you kind of have. Service is a level 4 load balancer, and basically ingress is a level 7 load balancer. DNS, this is a really nice feature. It basically gives us pretty friendly URL names to curl or to reach your services instead of just IP address. Autoscaling, so Kubernetes does have autoscaling features where you could start new containers based on load requirements and all that. So that's pretty awesome. Automatic rollouts, so you could do configurations and tune essentially deployment to control how you want the rollouts to kind of be managed and all that. And there are additional features that Kubernetes offer. I'm just covering some of them at a very high level, so we kind of understand the difference between Docker and Kubernetes. Some additional features are config maps and secrets and network policies. So that just allows you to kind of control configurations outside of your kind of Docker image, and then kind of manage it with basically usually YML. Okay, so I thought for me a picture is worth 1,000 words. So putting together a Kubernetes kind of like picture to help you visualize it would really help. So this is just a very simple example of like Kubernetes cluster with multiple nodes or VMs, virtual machines or instances, right? And then you have a Kubernetes deployment. And deployment is the long running basically a process that's gonna basically manage your pods. And pods, you could just think about those as essentially containers, Docker containers. And in pods, it does add a little bit more extra features on top of Docker containers. You could control settings and stuff with the YML, but it's essentially a container, okay? So hopefully this picture helps really explain the difference. Kubernetes, as you can see, is a much higher level tool than Docker. Docker just manages only the Docker container, and it's really good at that. It focuses specifically on that. In Kubernetes, the scope is a little bit more broad, so of course, it's relying on Docker to handle the container platform. Okay, so hopefully that clears up if you're kind of getting started with Kubernetes and Docker and wondering what the difference is. And again, they're two different tools, so you want to use kind of essentially both. Okay, hopefully that helps. Cheers.